Ow.
Welcome to 2023. Kurt Spenrath, returning guest after however many years it's been, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years since the last time we've chatted.
Yeah, I know there's enough crazy stuff has accumulated in the world that we can wax poetic and solve the problems of the world once again.
Right,
because obviously we did such a good job last time.
Last time, not just last time, but last time we talked to you, we're like, yeah, I just can't. There's certain things I can't talk about, and I'm like, Kurt, we're buds. Let's just talk. Like, but we don't have to talk. And you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to do podcasts, and I'm like, just to talk to my friend. I'm not allowed to talk to my friend.
Well, there's one big crazy thing I'm not allowed to talk about for the time being, but but other than that, I can go crazy.
Yeah, we talk about every other thing, man.
Don't worry, I'm not accused of any crimes or anything. It's, I haven't been caught like railing coke in a kindergarten or anything yet.
Caught.
I haven't been caught. As if I'm one of the great teetotalers of this world. My joke about cocaine is that it's the drug that makes people feel like they're me. That's how I alienate people before we even start talking.
Well, I mean, I don't know what cocaine makes you feel like, but if there was a drug that made people feel like me, I'd be wanting everyone to have it. I'd want everyone to have that drug because being me is awesome. I love it. I want everyone else to feel as like kind of like they're heading in the direction, like they're constantly heading, like,
dude, that's why you're the champ. That's why you have the belt, man.
Right.
It's that wish it, will it, want it attitude.
It really feels, like sometimes they go like, oh, it sucks to never realize you're in the good old days till you're not in them anymore. And I don't feel like I've ever not been mostly in the good old. I mean, there's struggles. There's times that things suck and, here and there, but I can find all of the joy in all of these moments and all the gratitude I have for having these experiences and making me into the guy that I am and turning me into the person I will eventually be.
I've been pretty lucky that way. I mean, I've had a few specific instances of poor luck, but generally my life has been a blast. I get to create things for a living. I get to talk to interesting people and it's my job. Like what a wonderful way to fumble through the world. Just always trying to be the least intelligent person in the room.
Well, there's trying, and then there's like being. sometimes there's trying, and then there's never telling anybody that you are trying, just accidentally stumbling, like having the group figure it out. Having the entire room go, oh, we all know that's the guy that's not the smartest of us all. But what?
There is a certain torture though to being on the other side of that and being in a room where you don't have anyone else that you can go.
If you're ever in a room where you're not conspiring with other people and being like, check out this friggin' idiot, you're the friggin' idiot.
Or you're just in a room full of nice people, but how is that? No. That's terrible. So I noticed that the show's called Evolving, and I had a day-long fascination with a topic that I keep dipping back into over and over again. The idea that we're entering a period of like profound cultural atavism where we're all de-evolving. I use the example that 20 years ago, you could fly from New York to Paris in 3 hours on a Concorde. Now that's impossible. And there's crazy little stats that I was looking at today. Like leafing through the Harper's Index, fewer adults than ever before are able to ride a bicycle, and the number seems to be falling. The average amount of time that a person under 50 spends with their friends every week is now 3 hours. This is some rough, crazy, weird stuff. The number of Americans that believe their house has a ghost living in it is higher for people under 30 than people over 60. Like, what's happening, man? Somewhere there's like a huge education system failing, and we're just slowly getting dumber statistically.
I think the society is one full of like, it used to be like, you got to do these things because otherwise you'll be bored. So hang out with your friends, or otherwise you'll be bored, or go ride a bike, or otherwise you'll be bored. Now there's never boredom. Boredom doesn't happen. You can always consume something. You can always scroll through something. So the moments where in society you'd go and do those things to entertain yourself, you don't need to do those things to entertain yourself anymore. You can remain entertained constantly and never have to leave your couch.
Yes, and it's I was a big fan of legalizing cannabis and cannabis products in Canada. I think it's great that you never have to walk more than 10 minutes to find a dispensary in any major city in the country.
Has anyone made the joke cannabis?
Cannabis?
Has anyone made that joke yet? Am I the first?
I'm sure many people on the West Coast have, because that's where the best weed comes from. But my critique of marijuana has always been that too, where it's like, it's another thing that kills boredom without requiring you to actually do something. And if you want to talk about what is the harm of it, that's exactly the harm. And if you're profoundly ill, if you're a shut-in or whatever, what a godsend that is. But man, if you're like 20 years old and you're at that age where you should be figuring stuff out and inventing stuff, taking the world by storm, creating your identity, and you're just passively curing boredom, whether it's weed or technology or whatever, stop it. Do something crazy. Go cliff diving. Do anything else.
I'll speak from personal experience. I'm one of distractibility. I'm a distractible boy, very distractible boy. I've been maybe smoking for 5 years, maybe. Like not I haven't been smoking my entire life. I've just been doing it for maybe the last 5 years, and I think that it's been helping with me kind of like I got rebuilding some of my
interesting. You traumatic out of it.
My traumatic brain injuries that I've got, and I just want to kind of head in the right direction. And I think that, well, see, it's a double-edged sword on that, because I have that, and I feel like that's healing me and helping me in a lot of ways, but it also demotivates me and it keeps me distracted. So I have to pick my time. I have to pick and choose when's ideal for me. So it'll be like when I know I'm in for the night and I know I'm going nowhere else, and I know I don't have to be somewhere and I don't have to do anything. Like I'll toke up a little bit and record a podcast sometimes. But
like tonight?
Not tonight. I have not.
No, but I mean, I'm a non-user in a very Canadian sense, which means that I don't smoke pot unless you can see the stars on a long weekend. Then nobody loves a Puritan.
So I would say I'm using it. I'm using it for medical purposes. it would be considered recreational, but at the same time, I'm very conscious of being a good example. I don't want to be a poor example of a pothead. Like, sure, I smoke and I'm a stoner, but like I don't want that to automatically let me lose legitimacy in a point that I'm trying to make. I've told the story before, but I was at a show. And I just went out in the parking lot and I smoked with a couple of the wrestlers, like after my match was over and I didn't have to do anything else. And it was during the main event, right? So I was sitting next to another worker and I wasn't saying anything for a long time. And then he looked at me and he's like, "You all right, dude?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just went outside and I smoked a little." And then like something happened in the main event, like whatever the finish was. And to look at me and go, "Okay, I want your expert opinion on what this was, and I'm going to give it to you because I'm gonna pat my own back. I'll hold my own ladder up here for a second. I want to acknowledge that I'm a 20-year vet. I've been doing this for 20 years. So
yeah, you know your way around the squared circle.
I've earned being able to comment on what a main event was and why it could have been different or what went wrong or what went right. All that stuff. I have the ability to do that. And so I started talking to the other wrestler about, how this was kind of weird, but like, I kind of get it, but like it could have been tweaked a little bit this way or that way. And they were like, "You're high." And I was like, "All right, well, not telling anybody else I'm ever high when I am," because
and it's one of those things, like I said, I have a layered perspective on this. Like anything, it's a tool that you can use, and it's like the late great Del Close, one of the founders of Second City, used to always have a thing where when you wrote comedy, you would write it while you were completely sober, but then you do a drug run where you smoke a little, have a few drinks, whatever your poison was, and do it so that you could relax into the material, find the space, find the breathing room in it, because there's nothing worse than comedy that is fucking relentlessly in your face. It's it's kind of unwatchable. That. Yeah.
Well, what's the guy's name? Del what?
Del Close.
Del Close.
Second City, Chicago.
They made a movie where they brought him up recently. Within the last, I don't know, 5-6 years. It was Mike Birbiglia wrote and directed a movie called Don't Think Twice. And it was about improv. And it had Keegan-Michael Key was in it, and Gillian Jacobs was in it. It was really good. I can't recommend it more. So
Del's kind of the godfather. Like I'm one generation removed from him because one of his star pupils was Dana Anderson, who is the guy that I started off with, that I'm still great friends and worship as one of the great comic geniuses of our generation. And I was there when Mike Myers had to apologize for him for stealing characters from him.
Wait, so Mike Myers stole characters from Second City from Del Close and
no, from Dana Anderson, who was
from Dana Anderson.
From a lot of people. Who was it? Tim Sims was the guy that invented Fat Bastard. That was his original character. I don't want to relitigate this because Mike Myers has apologized to everyone involved and been really cool about it and has turned out to, be kind of a nice guy. But yeah, a lot of his characters that it's like, it's based on a German waiter in Toronto. My buddy was doing it on a different show 4 years before he ever met him and recorded the song Touch My Monkey years before he ever even was introduced to Mike Myers, But sorry, I don't mean to rehash that 20-year-old gossip and shit on a totally nice guy. Sorry, Mike Myers, if you And I assume that you do watch the Corey.
Oh, he's a subscriber. He comments on the YouTube all the time.
Yeah, he better be. He better
be. He's gonna understand. He knows what a big fan of SNL I am. Of course, you can see.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Huge fan of SNL. Huge fan of Wayne's World. Wayne's World was and still is one of like my all-time favorite movies. I could quote it for hours and hours.
I do have a critique of Saturday Night Live though.
What's that?
I think being live is its greatest enemy because they're constrained by the size of the studio, which means that sketches can't all be their natural length. You have a finite number of sketches that has to fill 66 minutes of TV time, minus whatever 9 minutes for music or whatever it is. So you wind up getting screwed by the liveness of it. Like, to me, a lot of the best SNL stuff is the digital shorts.
Well, yeah,
where
like,
they can kind of be any.
It doesn't all have to be live anymore. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily. Like, even though it is Saturday Night Live, I'm not watching it live when it happens because
my favorite thing is
on my DVR. I'll watch it later.
My favorite thing Saturday Night Live has done in the last 5 years was the parody of Joker with David Harbour as Oscar the Grouch.
The Oscar the Grouch, yeah, that was.
My God, amazing. That was so funny, and so just on point, and
yeah, it was.
Raising the exact legitimate objection to a piece of art without ever saying it out loud.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was a beautiful bit. It was a beautiful bit, and it was like I watched that. And I was like, okay, David Harbour's a cool guy. I'd like to be friends with him.
I don't think I've ever fallen off of my fandom of SNL. Like everybody else who says like they're fans of it, they're like, oh, it was best when this guy and that guy and this guy. Sure, it was great, but that doesn't mean it was the best. If you stopped watching it because there was a moment when you stopped liking it or you thought it wasn't funny, like
some of the worst years of Saturday Night Live also coincided with the years that Eddie Murphy was a cast member. There's always something going on. There's some diamond in the rough hiding in there. I gotta say, I thought Mad TV was funnier, more consistently. Yeah,
Mad TV was great, dude. Will Sasso, top notch. Like you can't, you just can't top him. There's no way. You can't. I mean, you could tell that like he's genuinely a funny guy. And if you listen to his podcast, watch it on YouTube. I'll put it over here on my show.
Man, yeah.
The show is called Dudesy, and it's him and this guy named Chad Kultgen, and they have their show is completely run by an AI named Dudesy, and Dudesy formats out the entire show, and it like makes up all these games for them to play and gives them challenges, and it's amazing. I love it. So if you get an opportunity, check out Dudesy. Please do. And tell all your friends.
AI, is that something we have to dive into?
Could we?
Wild, man. It's I was just reading an article today on Deutsche Welle. You're American, you probably don't watch German news or read European news.
Dude, Kurt, you know what's really funny about it? Anytime we ever talk, it's like you'll put yourself down and be like, I'm always the biggest idiot in any room I'm in, and then you say the smart shit that I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm like, I'm not going to talk about myself like I'm a dingbat. I'm not going to talk about myself like I'm a dingus or a jerk or an idiot. But
okay, Deutsche Welle, it's the English language service of the National Public Broadcaster of Germany, just had a great article on the Chinese starting to use AI in the court system. And it sort of started off with using AI to look up documents in real time in like financial fraud cases. And then it kind of moved into letting AI run traffic court. Because I guess all the tickets are on cameras there and the AI can be like, yes, no, that's the decision. And now they've moved it into sentencing. And the AI is what makes sure that you have uniform sentencing all across the country. Which is a problem in any country that is more than 2 time zones big.
Yeah, that's a muddy hill, dude. That's a muddy
dude. I
hill.
mean, the U.S. you can smoke pot in California and do a dime in some southern states. It's wild.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, and I'm less afraid of AI than I am of stuff that's almost AI. Because a computer algorithm for 30 years now is what decides whether you get a mortgage. It picks who can and can't own their own home. The era of a bank manager being anything more than like chief of customer service is past.
It presses the power button.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the power is then given to the computer to make that decision. When you apply for a credit card, you hear back right away whether you got it or not because AI made that decision for you.
Oh, totally. And it's like a bank manager is now the guy that feeds the dog, that bites the person if they try to hit the emergency shut off button on the AI. Or just an algorithm. It's not even really AI. And it's the thing that I'm been interested in the last few weeks is, where we have this new ream of AI photo filters and AI art and AI writing programs, and everybody's freaking out about, kids in university using AIs to write first drafts of their papers and stuff like that. Why on earth are we putting effort into creating AI that does the job that humans would love to do, which is be creative and make art, instead of the shitty toil?
Well, what do you think of the so like the argument was always like when you were in school as a kid and you like had your calculator, they were like, you're not always going to have your calculator right on you. And now, yeah, everybody always has a calculator right on them all the time because it's right in our phones. So,
oh yeah, man! If we ever have the solar
elevated
flare
version
that knocks out all the electronics, we're quite fucked. The movie I most want to see a remake of right now is Fahrenheit 451, because we now live in a society where you really don't actually need to read.
Well,
Siri, how do I get to the grocery store?
Didn't they really just redo that a couple years ago on HBO?
Oh, did they?
I think they did it as a series. I didn't watch it, but I remember seeing commercials for it.
I hope it's as good as the one in my head, because I think using technology, you could make a really cool Fahrenheit 451 if you incorporated that into it. But you never know. I thought that like 15, 20 years ago when they remade the Thomas Crown Affair, I was like, oh man, doing that, but instead of like landlines and phones and lights and faces so you can't see each other, you just use like smartphones and shit like that. Oh, it's gonna be the best Thomas Crown ever. And it was the shit.
Was that was Pierce Brosnan, right?
Yeah, who's charming, and from what I hear, a super, super nice guy. But
I never saw the movie. Was he an art thief or something in that? Was that the whole the whole plot of the
if you watch one Thomas Crown Affair, watch Faye Dunaway and Bullet. What's his name? The original one.
I don't know. How long ago was that?
The original's from like the 60s. But it's great. It's where a guy organizes these elaborate heists using people that never meet each other. So it's like your job for like $5,000 is to walk into this room at exactly this time and turn the light switch off. What else do I have to do? That's your whole job. And everybody has one minor thing they do that ends with this dude heisting money, jewels, whatever.
Did you see that?
Great idea.
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
I fucking love Rick and Morty.
Did you see the Heist Con episode?
Oh yeah,
everything was a heist.
Yeah,
you son of a bitch.
Reverse laughter. Any episode that brings back Mr. Poopy Butthole is essential canon to me.
Did you watch season 6? Did you watch the newer ones?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I love that they're up in the risk factor of a lot of their stuff. You know, because to me, like, and I'm sure there are some people that in 20 years are going to think it's where it jumped the shark, but it's where I got super duper interested is when they did the Story Train episode.
And then they brought it back. Then they brought it back this season.
Yeah, with the Story Master guy.
Dude, Pissmaster is like instant classic. That whole episode, I was like, boom, this one is this is jumped up to being like one of my favorite
season
episodes.
6 Pickle Rick, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because there seems to be some people making hay out of Justin Roiland's 2020, I guess. He had some woman accused him of domestic assault, and it's kind of just going to trial now or whatever. So there's a lot of people freaking out that Rick and Morty might only get one more season. And sorry, I've segued us into can you ignore the artist and just enjoy the art conversation? Does canceling exist?
I feel like I had a handful of balloons and you just threw a dart at every single one of them.
Well, I mean, it's unproven, and he was accused like 5 months after the alleged incident.
I'm fully about separating the art from the artist on this one because Rick and Morty's my favorite thing. It's really not like I think culture's opinion of it is like, well, okay, he's accused, so boom, it must be absolute that that's the case. But like everybody's made mistakes, and everybody's like, I don't think.
I'm one of those rare people where I don't actually believe cancel culture exists. And I think for a brief window, commissioners and programmers and stuff like that were afraid that it was real. So they made a couple of choices that they had to walk back later, like firing James Gunn temporarily from Guardians of the Galaxy for an AIDS joke that actually was a little bit funny. What was the joke? It was my grandmother always told me that laughter is the best medicine, which is why I always laugh at AIDS patients, was the joke. And it's dark.
I'm gonna isolate that, and I'm gonna get you canceled for it.
You're gonna get me canceled. Yes. It's dark.
Yeah.
But it's like dark comedies like food. Not everyone gets it. But they freaked out about it, and
sometimes there's no great rewards without great risks, and that joke was an entire risk.
That was a great risk.
Mm-hmm.
But he got to direct it. Now he's in charge of DC. He's bigger than he ever was. And like Louis C.K. got canceled. He's playing Madison Square Garden next Saturday. Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
It's I don't think cancel culture actually exists. So
well, I think that people had time to think about the Louis C.K. thing, and they were like, "Oh shoot, that's a kink," and now we're shaming him for it. We're kink shaming this guy. Oh, we're gonna twist ourselves all the way around to try to overcorrect everything so that we forget about how mistakes are made and how we can fix the mistakes and dig ourselves and learn the lessons that we're supposed to learn, because like we're too busy going like, you're bad, you're the bad, you're the bad one. And it's like, hey, you got shit going on too, buddy. Like these other fingers here, they're pointing right back at you when you're pointing at us. You got other shit going on. There's something.
Well, yeah, and I think people have also had some time to sort of reflect on the real nature of things like identity politics. And we were talking before, if joking about addressing my neighbor up the street here, Jordan Peterson, who's terrified of political correctness and cancel culture and enforced speech and all of the whatever fun phrases he's using right now, and he sees it as the great demon of the left. And I've always disagreed with Jordan, even though he married two really good friends of mine. Like I don't have any personal beef with the guy. He's just wrong about a bunch of this stuff. Identity politics is not a leftist thing. Leftist ideology is about solidarity and saying, if we all work together, we can achieve this big thing, and we can share in the benefits of it. Right-wing ideology is about the individual, right? Ayn Rand's famous phrase, rational self-interest, right? Rational selfishness. And that's what identity politics is. It's me, and I want this now for myself. And that doesn't make it bad. Just like it doesn't necessarily make conservatism bad, because it's led to a lot of great things: civil rights movement, women getting to vote, all kinds of stuff. But it's not really a leftist thing. And when Jordan talks about like enforced language, being forced to use pronouns and stuff like that, freaking out about pronouns, and it's like, dude, you're a university professor. There have always been like enforced deportment in a university setting. If you walked into a class and said, I'll take a question from the shifty looking Jew, and then the fat chug next to him, you better expect to be in the fucking dean's office, having someone go, fucking don't do that or I have to fire you. That can't possibly be a surprise or a new phenomenon. There's just new slurs that we've added to the list, like, and in a,
it's let me
please feel free to retort. It's only interesting if we argue.
So recently, like yesterday, this guy that I work with said, I gotta leave early because I'm going to get my eyebrows waxed. And he was like, I got to leave early because the Chink's place closes at 6, is what he said. And I was like, I was like, and then he went, oh, sorry. Sorry to everybody else who's in the room. Sorry. And then the boss lady was like, dude. And then he was like, I said sorry. I said sorry. And then they started talking about how recently, within the last couple years here in Philly, there was a cheesesteak place, and it was some guy whose nickname was Chink, and he was not Chinese, but they named the place Chink's Cheesesteaks, and they had to rename it to something else. And I don't even know. I never really bit into that story, or never really invested enough of my effort or energy into finding out any more about that. But then they started talking about it. And then the lady who just yelled at him for saying it then went, oh, yeah, Chink's used to be my favorite cheesesteak place. And then they changed the name. Like, what are we doing?
Distracted with cheesesteak.
What are we doing?
You may have just told the most Philly story about political correctness that I've ever heard in my life. And then the kid goes, yeah, it used to be good, and then they had to change the name when everyone got all butthurt about
racial slurs. I'm like, everyone just got butthurt about racial slurs, you dickhead. Everyone's always been butthurt about racial slurs. It's not brand new.
Although, being of Ukrainian descent, it is kind of new to me to have Ukrainians be considered like cool, courageous, intelligent people. Kind of, I wish that could have happened without a massive genocidal war, but cool. Zelensky, good guy. No, I kind of dig the challenge to my own perceptions that Zelensky is, because I shit so hard on the Americans electing a game show host as president and being, surprised when he had no idea what he was doing. He was great for Canada because, he got to do the scheduled renegotiations of NAFTA. And we got to send, a Rhodes Scholar that was the editor of The Economist for a decade to negotiate with, this fucking orange chimp. It was wonderful for Canada. But I spent a lot of time hacking on America for electing Trump.
Did you see
But then the Ukraine elects a comedian, a sitcom actor, and he's fucking great. Well, so I'm like, man, my own prejudices are being thrown back in my face because now it's a guy I like, so it's okay to elect celebrities.
Yeah, as long as it's what you like, then then
I'm fine with it.
If it's somebody you don't like,
oh yeah,
why celebrities? But if it's one of the ones you like, sure.
All jokes aside, in a democracy, people from every profession should be able to be elected to public office. There should be teachers, playwrights, metal workers, lawyers, doctors, welfare moms. Everybody should get a kick at the can.
Well, The Rock might run, right? Isn't that a rumor? That was a rumor on SNL. That was a joke. I probably
for what and where?
It was like when he was hosting, part of his monologue was him saying that he was going to run with Tom Hanks as his vice president, and everyone went, "Oh, he's doing it! Oh, The Rock!" Like, he's not going to announce it on SNL, and Tom Hanks is not going to be a vice president. It's not take everything so seriously.
Because he was born in the States, right? He wasn't born up here.
Who, The Rock? I think.
Because his dad is like an old school, like Haligonian family from up here. So from the East Coast. Yeah, he's like the Atlantic and the Pacific came together and created like the perfectly jacked human being.
Well, it's also there's the show Young Rock, the sitcom, is about him in the future running for president, and him the story, him telling the whole like narrative of the show is it's him sitting down with a reporter telling the story of his life, because the reporter is interviewing him because he's running to be president.
Oh man, I may have to watch this. How far have they gotten so far? How old is Young Rock?
I don't watch the show.
Neither do I.
It's like it's such a weird dramatization of, and from everything I've heard, it's like really inaccurate and stuff. Of course, it's inaccurate because it's Hollywood.
I've always wanted somebody to hunt down and interview the guy that cut him from the Calgary Stampeders. I'm like, really? You couldn't have done something in the Canadian Football League with this guy? You had to cut him from the Stamps? in the 80s when they were constantly losing to my hometown? Jesus.
Dude, there's when I left work today, this guy was like, "All right, have a good weekend. Go Eagles." And I was like, Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah,
he was like,
it's
not
just
not
about
an
time for your
Eagles.
giant football palooza down there, isn't it?
It's like not a big Eagles fan. I'm like, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I don't really care about. I've invested a lot of my time and effort into other things besides some game.
Well, I mean, you're a sports entertainer. I mean, you'll never be able to make unplanned sport as interesting as you can.
Well,
like cooperative performative improv sports, you know?
Well, I think that everything's kind of a work. I mean, not everybody knows about it, but I think it's kind of a work.
Yeah. Like, is UFC a work?
I don't. I don't think everybody knows it, but I think some do. I mean, I saw an Al Snow shoot interview where he was talking about when he was he would walk Dan Severn to the octagon, and he was like,
who's a friend of mine. We love Dan Severn. He's a funny, cool, good dude. I like Dan a lot.
Yeah, he also listens to every episode of this podcast. He's one of the top subscribers. He comments on all the YouTube videos. Dan Severn,
good.
You're a beast,
Dan,
bro. You're a beast.
I hope you listen to this on the big drive between your gym and your university there.
I bet he's awesome. I mean, I've never met him.
No, Severn's a super cool guy.
I bet he's great.
Yeah.
But Al Snow was told a story about like packed arena. The good guy beat the bad guy and sent everyone home happy. And it's like, do you think that they'd pack that building again had they not sent the good guy home? Like, or had they not sent everybody home? What? He's like,
I see. I always my favorite Dan Severn story is actually about Al Snow.
Yeah,
how he sort of like put in, applied to be a part of the UFC because he was, a high level like college wrestling coach down in the States and was like the man in that world. And when he actually got into the UFC, he convinced Al Snow to teach him how to punch. So they had two of them sharing one pair of boxing gloves with Dan trying to learn how to throw a punch from Al Snow.
Cool. That's awesome.
And that goes to show you how cool Dan Severn is because he freely tells that story.
Well, which I've been a big fan of Al Snow over the years as well. Like his shoot interviews have meant tons, and he'd definitely be somebody like who I'd go. That'd be a dream get for the podcast, and I want to have a sit down and chat with him.
Well, in terms of a guy that seems to really get the psychology of performance, that's a dude. And I've always pushed for the idea that there should be more overlap between like theater and wrestling and improv and wrestling and stuff like that, where it's just like, man, like you got a guy that can't cut a promo, send him to take like fucking improv classes for 6 months. He'll come out.
What did you think about
run laps around people?
About Jericho wanting to put wrestling in the Olympics or something? Like
pro wrestling in the Olympics?
Pro wrestling in the Olympics. Did you hear about that?
It's a ha-ha thing, but man, figure skating is and diving is. I mean, these are all choreographed demonstrations of athleticism. Why like you trampolining's in the Summer Olympics? Why not?
Well, I think the mainstream and I get up on a soapbox about this. The mainstream non-wrestling fan just they think wrestling is like embarrassing. They think wrestling is
dude. I made an entire film about this. The match. People that don't like ballet don't malign the entire art form and the people that do. You
Right.
don't see non-ballet fans going, oh, those stupid ballet fans actually think that chick's a swan. What are they? You know, like you never see that. But people that dislike wrestling malign the art form and the fans.
And minimalize the shit out of us. And as JR would say, they fat shame wrestling. They fat shame wrestling fans, and it's not literally fat shame, but it's like the same kind of shame that they throw on fat people. Like, oh, like, you know, you're unhealthy. Like somehow something's wrong with us for liking the things that we like.
And it's the other thing that I find very interesting is, you know, when the majority of my career was still live theater, and I was directing and performing in live theater, I used to love throwing elements of pro wrestling into fight scenes in plays, because they always got a massive pop. And the image that I always have, the moment that I always remember, is performing at Theater Epsilon in Prague at the invitation of the Vice-Regal, representing my nation in Europe, in a room full of people immaculately dressed, some of them even in tuxedos like the president of the National Bank. And when I threw a garbage can at Trevor Duplessis' head, and he started shooting hockey pucks at me before I kicked him in the nuts, they were popping so hard it wasn't even funny. They fucking loved professional wrestling when it was in a big soft seat theater with a balcony and had that sort of stamp of propriety about it. And it's like, man, like most theater, dude, if something leaves your hands and isn't attached to anything, people can't believe what they're watching. It suddenly becomes super real to them. It's insane how much people love, you know, a garbage can shot or a drop toe hold or something like that on stage.
Yeah, the amount of like ignorance that non-wrestling fans or just like common people like it's really funny to have someone come up to me and be like, hey, is it as fake as I think it is? Like, you already think you know the answer to what I'm gonna say, like, and you posing it to me in that type of way is incredibly insulting. And I make this point many times on the show. I say, like, okay, I've been doing this. I've been pursuing this dream. It is something I've loved my entire life. I've spent more time alive being a wrestler than I have spent not being a wrestler. You calling this fake and you minimalizing this and you going like it's nothing is you minimalizing me, you calling me fake.
But it's also that, like, applied to anything else.
Well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Applied to anything else, the ridiculous of it is in sharp relief. Like, come on. All those dancers know where they're going to go before they even come on stage. You know, like as if that guy knows that Tony's not going to stab him in West Side Story. It's not, and when he stabs him, it's like a fake knife. Dumb. Like, and any other art form, if you applied that level of criticism, it would clearly demonstrate that you are a simpleton.
So The Rock never fought gigantic gorillas, and he never flew a helicopter.
Yeah.
You think, oh, we believed everything he did in the ring, so we must believe that he's really flying a helicopter through Los Angeles. We must really believe that he's battling a gigantic gorilla, and we must really believe that that he's in a video game. The Rock is in a video game.
Kiss Kiss decided which songs they were going to play before the concert started. I'm sorry, guys.
So you did say you wanted to break some news in regards to wrestling that I didn't even know.
I better not be breaking this, but
no,
yeah,
I didn't even know. No,
Major
breaking
League
it.
Wrestling.
I mean, you're kind of breaking it to me because I didn't know.
Yeah, MLW got a TV deal with they're going to be on Reels, which is great because the Reels guys. I've met the head of programming there a few times. I'm not sure if it's still the same guy because I haven't talked to them in a few years. But what a cool group of dudes, and you know they're kind of like a family-owned network over there. So
I'm not familiar with Reels.
It's I mean it's going to be in your higher cable numbers in most of the US, but they're based out of they're based out of somewhere really weird, even though their sort of mandate is like Hollywood, you know, lifestyle kind of stuff. They're based, I think, out of like San Antonio or something weird like that. They're not in New York or LA though, so they kind of march to their own drum. They're interesting. They're interesting dudes. I think it'll be a really cool match, and I think wrestling will be good for them, and they'll be good for wrestling. They'll actually try and push it.
I do want to see whatever's best for the wrestling business. You know, I talk about, you know, I've spent all this time of my life, and I'm not saying like I'm anywhere close to done. Who knows when I'm done? But I'm saying like I want to see the business do well. I want to leave it better than I found it. You know, but I found it in the Attitude Era, so I don't know if it'll ever get better. But if it gets good again, I want to be a part of that good.
This is something. I hope Bret Hart doesn't watch you every week, because
every single week,
yeah, every single one of watches and comments.
He texts me every time. Good show, bro. Good show, bro.
Okay, so
good show, dude.
I really like Bret. I really like Bret's kids. Blade and Dallas, super cool guys. Daughters are like nice as hell. So
they're all big supporters of mine. I appreciate.
Yeah,
I appreciate their support of me. Thank you so much, everybody. Hart family.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
We had Blade on season 2 of Going Native because a lot of people don't know this, but Bret's first wife, Julie, was Indigenous, and his kids identify as Indigenous, and most of them actually like work on the Siksika Reserve just outside of Calgary. Mm-hmm. So we featured Blade as an artist on an episode that we did about like Indigenous pop artists, like who the really cutting edge cool guys are, and Blade is super super cool. So you know we went to Bret's mansion there, where he's built like a studio in his garage that he and Blade will like do art in, and we focused on Blade, but of course we did a bit with Bret because he was nice enough to do it with us. And like anytime Bret's willing to sit down and give you 20 minutes, you say thank you, and Jesus, he did it on his anniversary too, to his current wife, who's a super cool, super smart, beautiful, neat lady too. We don't get a ton of network notes on the show. The show is popular on the network that it broadcasts on in Canada. You know, we're on basic cable up here, and you know it does well. But one of the network notes we got was, "Can you cut this Bret guy back a whole bunch? He doesn't seem to like fit with the show."
they had no idea who he was.
I had no clue who he was, and I'm like,
God.
Are you insane? Like,
did you say to them, like, do you know who this guy is? Like,
You know what? I'm not the one that actually sent the email back because everyone stepped in when they saw my reaction, I think. And we're like, no, dude, you can't just be like, what the fuck? Not that I would ever be mean, because APTNO Network in Canada are the best. They're the coolest. They're the nicest people. I freaking love them. They are some of the easiest people to work with on the planet. They're awesome.
They don't listen to the show. You can say how you really feel. They don't listen to the show. You can say how you really feel, Kurt.
No, I genuinely do love them, but it was just sort of like, dudes, that's Bret the Hitman Hart. He's doing us a favor by agreeing to be in our show. We're not doing something nice for him. He's doing something ridiculously cool for us. And the only note we should have be getting is, please thank Bret for us and send him a jam basket of gratitude for being nice enough to take time out of his life to be on your show with his son. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to check out Bret Hart's artwork, wrestling fans that might also dig pop art, super, super, super cool artist.
I'm only familiar with him from the Wrestling with Shadows documentary. So he's grown up since then. He's not the same little kid. Oh darn! Who'd have thought?
They're all grown ups now, and actually, Dallas and Blade and Mo, Bret's kind of like adopted godson, Mo Jabari, who's kind of a great young wrestler. I've started promoting indie shows in Calgary.
Cool.
Yeah, so like Bret's actually, I think, kind of maybe like silently taking the book on a little indie up in Canada.
Oh, right.
With his family. So
I guess he's not that big of a fan of me. He would be using me if he. Man, I thought you were my supporter. You're gonna bring me up. Come on, man.
I'm
not you. I'm talking directly to Bret Hart right now. Bret Hart, who's a big fan of my show. He listens every week.
Well, Jesus, who main evented their last show? The last show, Harry, of course, David Boy Smith Jr. And Nick Aldis were the main event for the last show. They did. So I mean, they're kind of in that phase of like running quarterly, kind of new indie kind of thing. But
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they're running in the big old pavilion where their grandpa used to promote like back in the 80s.
Cool,
with, like,
that's awesome.
Owen and Dynamite and all those guys. So it's
dude, I have to say, man, I always a huge Bret Hart fan. Like, and I think that was like any reasons I always wanted to like. I've always wanted to like do some matches up in Canada just to say like, oh, I worked up in Bret Hart territory.
Oh, dude! I mean, make it happen. There's like an indie wrestling explosion in Alberta right now.
Oh yeah.
There's like 8 promotions running in a province of 4 million people. It's insane.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's fun to see. I mean, we're pitching right now a series on indie wrestling in Alberta that I worked on with a film production company out of Vancouver. So cross my hands. Hopefully I'll get to go back to Calgary and film with a bunch more of the wrestlers out there. And
have you ever done any work with A Tribe Called Red or Hallucination is what they're called now?
Funny you should say that. A Tribe Called Red wrote the theme song for our show.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that group. I listen to them all the time in my car.
Stadium Powwow is a fucking great song.
Oh yeah, dude. And they're huge wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And I would love to have them on my show.
We haven't gotten them on my show yet.
yeah. Get them on your show first.
No, we really tried to get them for for a music episode we did in first season, but they were kind of on hiatus at the time and kind of doing their own thing. So we did a crazy. The thing that we did instead is we took a drum from like the hide being turned into a drum, being like evaluated by the percussionist for the symphony orchestra, to a hip hop artist that sampled the drum and then dropped a track at a club.
Well, I used to use just like last year or 2 years ago, perhaps. I used to use a Tribe Called Red song, and Coming to the Ring. I used to use a one of their songs, and then I got a new song. Are
you indigenous?
No,
I've never asked you this.
No, I'm not. No,
they're just cool as hell. Yeah.
Deep respect, deep love. I don't think I identify as anything. So I really just pick my favorite parts from everything and appropriate it into who I am. No, just.
Oh, dude, that's my thing too. Is like I'm a white guy that likes to make stuff with my friends, and not all of my friends look like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, because I feel like planting a flag anywhere to say that I'm this makes me inflexible to become anything besides what this is. So that's the whole idea of the drum that I play in the beginning of our show.
Oh, that is a skin drum, is it not?
Yes, it is a djembe. Yes.
Yeah.
The entire reason for this is it represents consistency, and I want to stay consistent in every single thing that I do. So I actually beat that drum, and I bring that drum with me to the ring before all of my matches, and I say that this is more of a ritual. This is more of a ceremony. This is more sacred to me than any religion you could try to pretend that you are or pretend that I am, because what I do here is more important than anything I'm doing every other day of the week. Just like going to mass.
Love it. Yeah, I spent 2 seasons as the resident white guy in the African theater ensemble in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, the deportment of entering an event and being announced by the talking drum, and like, man, my Nigerian and Kenyan and even Jamaican brothers and sisters, power and love to you guys.
Such.
Yeah. That was a great, fun, wonderful time of my life where I got to work with some of the most brilliant people.
I just want to continue to be somebody who anyone would feel safe to be who they are, exactly who they are around me, and maybe they can learn lessons from me, and maybe they can teach lessons to me, and I can grow, and we can grow together, and that's part of what evolving is for me. That's why I'm sticking to that.
Audiences can smell authenticity. You know, like they can sense when someone's kind of full of shit, you know, and it's they can smell it. Yeah, that guy works out. Doesn't necessarily shower, but he sure fucking works out. No, and it's like some people are inevitably gonna, not dig the cut of your jib, like.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Bret Hart. I think he finds me frivolous.
I'm a huge fan of, and I'm very inspired by Mitch Hedberg. Do you know who Mitch Hedberg is?
Oh yeah, one-line comedian, of course.
Yeah, he has this bit when he goes, "You can't please all the people all the time," and last night all those people were at my show. So there's a lot of things that I take, like I'll take, like I said, I take little pieces of things and I incorporate them into, like, this was supposed to be a joke, but I'll find this to be a metaphor for what life is. So Mitch Hedberg also, and I've said it on the show a bunch of times. Mitch Hedberg has a joke where he talks about, like, as good as you want to be at tennis, Like you could practice all day. You could get real good at tennis, but you'll never be as good as the wall. So I look at that and I talk about like when there's people who are kind of complicated in life, like they're the wall. I'm trying to play tennis against the wall on these people. And the comparison I always make is I say like playing tennis against the wall is basically like, if I think I'm winning this game, I might as well take my tennis ball and just throw it onto the roof of the building where that wall is. And instead of wasting these, there's only like 3 balls in this can. You know what? I'm going to put the ball back in the can and I'm going to go take it and play somewhere else.
Well, and perfect metaphor for political discourse and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day, though. Is there a moral responsibility to pound the sand, to knock your head against the wall, with certain people? Because I was arguing online with a convoy person, which sadly I think might be a distinctly Canadian thing. These are the guys that blocked the borders and were, driving around with trunks full of guns, which is a very unusual thing in Canada, and all that stuff, that are like militantly opposed to public health measures and anti-vaxxers and whatnot. And it occurred to me that I think a lot of those people think that way more people agree with them than do, because most people just kind of roll their eyes and don't feel like wasting their time with them.
There's another thing, dude. Another thing that I say, and I think I'll let you have this one. if you can apply this to anything, please do. My grandmother, she was like in her 70s or her 80s or something, and whenever she would talk about FedEx, she would call it FedOx. And people would correct her every time. And I would say, stop correcting her. Like she's already convinced and committed that this is what it is. It's called FedOx. You're going to make the joke that there's packages and they're wheeling it on an ox. Make the jokes. Sure. But like, she's not going to that's not going to think, because she's already all the way convinced. She's got the muscle memory with her words. That's what's coming out. So,
and who knows how much fun Grandma gets out of fucking with people by saying FedOx.
Right. And a lot of times when anything is like somebody is imbudgeable, you know what I mean? You can't budge them in a thing. And I just go FedOx. And I'll just say FedOx, like, oh, you're so already dying on that hill. You're already all the way feet in the dirt. You're not moving. FedOx. It's like, all right, you're too old to change.
You don't. It's one of those things that's easy to judge until you find out you have one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my lovely English girlfriend, who talks so pretty, immaculate talk imitator, has pointed out that I say dwaddle instead of dawdle. God is my witness. I thought the word was dwaddle and had to look it up to settle the argument to find out that I was entirely wrong. The word is in fact dawdle.
And what context were you using the word?
I hate those
when she called you out
on a sidewalk. Wow, these people dwaddling off the plane. Like anytime there's somebody dwaddling in front of you.
Well, this is kind of mixed with waddle.
Waddle and dawdle. You dwaddle. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's and you know, it's one of those things. So now I do say dawdle now. Unless I'm around my girlfriend, then I absolutely say dwaddle, just to watch a really, really nice woman who does nothing but look after me get angry. Why do we do these things?
It's okay to be wrong sometimes. You know, like if you were never corrected in being wrong, then how did you know you were wrong? Right?
Yeah, it's like, no, I feel
who
stupid. Why were you so mean as to tell me?
Right.
I wouldn't have felt stupid if you hadn't told me I was stupid. God damn it.
Remind me one more time. Am I stupid?
And look at that. I just did a Kushmenko voice because I'm used to Ukrainsky people being treated as stupid backwater people, and we're not anymore. We're cool.
Can you say that? Can
warriors.
you say that word one more time? Kushmenko.
Oh, Kushmenko. It's
Kushmenko.
I'm
unfamiliar.
Sorry, that's a super regional word too. That's not even Ukrainian. That's regional slang for like bumbling Ukrainian. That's dropped my pierogies.
It's like
I made their solar powered flashlight for my submarine. I better open the screen door, go inside and try it. Kushmenko.
I guess that's kind of like a hick kind of, like they do, like for Southern people they do the, oh yeah, I'm a dirty, like they just any Southern person's accent automatically registers that you're doing an impression of an idiot.
And I feel sorry for.
I feel really sorry for them,
for educated Southern people.
Oh yeah.
That's absolutely the case. It's a. Well, I think we should separate. We should split the atom by bombarding the nucleus with neutrinos. I think we should hit it with a hammer. I'm going with the English guy. He sounds like he really knows what he's doing.
Have you been watching or listening to Dax Harwood's podcast?
No, another guy who apparently really loves Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah, he's breaking the stigma, man. He's really educated and he speaks really well.
Ah, cool.
So,
I'll have to check it out.
So check that. It's called FTR with Dax Harwood, I think. But it's a good show. This show that we're doing right now. It's just me telling you about podcasts that I like, that you should podcasts and shows that we should all be.
If you're way busy, before you listen to 288, put all of this in the queue ahead of it.
Put it all. Check
First,
out
you
all
have
that.
To watch all 6 seasons of Rick and Morty.
And the 1960s version of the Thomas Crown Affair.
Yeah. Gotta get on that.
And the Fahrenheit show on HBO. Gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Gotta check out Dudesy.
Holy Motors. Gotta watch Holy Motors.
And is your show that's on basic cable? Is that available online for people to watch?
I think it might be geo-blocked, but if you can get Lumi down in the States, you can download it for free in Canada. You should be able to watch all the episodes on Lumi. I'm not sure if all my CBC stuff is still geo-blocked in the States. Because I just found out that we've... it seems like we may have started like a massive social change in Germany with one of the documentaries I made. Because I made a film about the German obsession with native people.
Yeah.
Because every summer, thousands of Germans go to the countryside and like live in teepees and make tomahawks and sew their own buckskin and stuff.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
It was very successful in Canada. We like beat Simpsons and Family Guy in prime time and stuff.
Wow.
Did really well, but it's been huge hit in the German-speaking world and in Europe and in France and stuff like that, and countries where they have this Winnetou obsession. And basically, the tone of it was, what you're doing is obviously not done with bad intentions, but it's still kind of racist. But really, we think it's hilarious. And Native people in North America think it's hilarious when someone in Bavaria goes and lives in a teepee for the summer. And now there's this like whole world of scholarship and this new awakening going on in Germany about like, should the Indiana thing really be reevaluated? And it's yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to wreck the fun, but like a 6'3", blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy wearing a war bonnet is like, nah, man. I didn't even like Atlanta calling their team the Braves. Like that shit's way over the line.
yeah. Well, I just
but you don't want to wreck the fun because they weren't doing it maliciously.
Right. Yeah.
Is the thing. Like, and that was also a little bit a part of the thing is like, there's transgression, but sometimes there's like teachable transgression. You know, when you go to Germany and you talk to these guys, they're just dying for knowledge about what real Indiana people think and what knowledge they can share with us. They're completely earnest, and they're not waking up in the morning going, we're gonna put the Redskins in their place. Like,
how cool would it be? How cool would it be if I did this like they do? Right.
Yeah. It's not mean-spirited at all, but it's still wildly inappropriate and betrays a definite lack of like consciousness of the preferences of Indigenous people. So yeah, so apparently like there's a lot of people dealing with that. I mean, I hope we didn't like ruin good intentioned fun too badly. I hope people find a way to sort of reconcile things and find a third way or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think everything is pretty third way in the way I kind of look at things, like, because I don't look at everything as like right and wrong, black and white.
Well, and the Indigenous reaction to it wasn't monolithic either. I have a half brother that teaches at an all Indigenous school in Thunder Bay, which is in northern-ish Ontario, you know, still in the southern third of Canada, but it's where they fly all the kids from remote communities that are too small to have a high school to go to high school. And for a lot of kids, it's the first time they've been like in a city with paved roads and stuff like that for more than just a visit.
Like off the res, yeah.
Off the res. And there's like a bad racism in Thunder Bay. It's a huge, nasty, dirty, gross problem. When these kids watched this show about these German native cosplayers, they went, Europeans think our culture's cool. And the self-esteem of these kids was like, we love that Europeans think we're cool.
Yeah.
And they had an assembly and showed the film to the entire school, and they were like, right on. So the reaction to cultural appropriation was way less universal than I thought. You know, and when we were making the film, I was like, oh man, are we going to get shit on for going too easy on these Germans? Because, you know, we dealt with them with a certain degree of like compassion and trying to, you know, acknowledge that the intention wasn't malevolent and stuff like that. I thought there was still a chance that, you know, we'd get smoked by identity politics or whatever. Never happened. People could tell where our heart was, and they could tell where the heart of these people were.
Said people can smell sincerity. People can smell the genuine. The intentions weren't to exploit anyone. The intentions are never to exploit from me either. I mean, that's like, I guess I feel bad if anyone takes it that way, that I beat this drum, but this drum represents something deeper than just me appropriating something. If you know, and the respect I have for Native people and for First Nationers and the culture, I've you know, I've sat in ceremony, and I really I had to learn and cry and hold space with these people, and I don't want to ever offend anybody, and I totally understand where you're coming from. On that.
I think if people can tell that if they went to you and said, "This is a really personal thing. I mean, was that a native drum or was that an African drum? I thought it was African.
I think it's African.
Yeah.
If
people can tell that if they came to you and said, this is something really personal and really whatever, we want to keep it for us, or we don't want you to use it unless you take time to like learn the traditions of it, the meaning of it. They could probably tell that your reaction would be, yes, I'm open. I want to be a part of this. I want to be, I want to be cool with you. And this is so many weird, like right-wing, angry hobby horses assume that they're arguing with people that are monolithic and totally binary. It's like trans people. If you accidentally misgender a trans person and go, Jesus, sorry, they might have like a witticism that they dispense at that moment. But if they can tell that you're seriously not trying to be a dick, it's not going to be a big deal. It's the moment will pass and you'll carry on, because they have the ability to tell when someone is the kind of jackass that means them ill, and when someone is just doing their best to navigate an unfamiliar situation. But it's portrayed as like this monolithic, awful thing. And it's, I know you guys are having this in the States now too. People like showing up to protest at like drag queen storybook times. And this idea that there's an entire culture destroying kids. And it's like, man, I grew up watching Monty Python. Dudes in dresses was like a huge part of my childhood. And
kids in the hall. Yeah.
The only lasting effect it had on me was I got a sense of humor. So this is something which apparently people that can't handle drag story time don't have. Like Klinger. Oh my God, Klinger's gonna turn our kids into communists.
Well, I think everything is not everything is so like broad brush cover the entire idea of what this whole thing, because there are certain individual circumstances that are completely outliers for every other part of it. So like, I don't even remember where this was, and I don't, forgive me for not being educated on this, but that whole thing with the trans teacher, the shop class.
Yes, it's about a 45-minute ride on the GO train away from my front door here.
It's like it's like this level of eggshells, the level of overcorrecting. Like,
well, apparently
people see that extreme example.
Apparently, that story is even funnier than we thought it was. That guy had a bit of a history of having a bit of a stick up his ass about pronouns and stuff like that, and he was a bit of a junior Jordan Peterson.
It's just kind of forcing
the whole being trans thing is kind of like Mr. Garrison's trying to get fired.
Oh yeah,
or is trying to push the policy to a point where they actually have to discipline him,
and then he can
the school board and the principal are kind of going like, "No, man, fuck you! Like you're testing the limits of our tolerance, and go hard. If you want to wear those goofy things all day, bring it, dude. Like they're high school students. They're gonna think you're kind of hilarious, probably.
I feel like as a shop teacher, that's maybe dangerous. Maybe they go like, "Hey, take your earrings out. Don't have a necklace on." Like as a shop teacher, having big old comically oversized
I mean it's so panto that I can't believe anyone's like, "Oh my God, how will high school students handle that?" The way high school students handle anything that's an aberration, you're gonna fucking laugh about it.
But I feel like that puts a bad taste in people's mouths for trying to normalize it for people who truly feel that way. Like the same way, like fake rape accusations offend people who really have been raped and are afraid to come out. I feel like,
but I mean, it's one of those things where, I often feel like on the political spectrum, this is a bit of a one-way concern. Where it's like, oh my God, what if a bad taste is placed in people's mouths about all trans people because of this one guy that is possibly a troll doing this crazy thing? We're not worried what taste it puts in the mouths of, the vast body of people on the left when, a teenage girl with an ectopic pregnancy dies because she can't get an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Or how it makes all of us feel about Christianity when we see the Westboro Baptist Church out protesting. The onus is on us to go, well, not all Christians are awful, not all gun owners are zealots, and I agree, we should actually do that. Most of the gun owners that I know are actually pretty cool, normal, ordinary people like us. I've made a film, I produced a film about cowboy shooting, and met a lot of American gun enthusiasts that were totally lovely, hospitable people. I think we should do that, but I think the other side needs to do that for us now and then too. and accept that, like, no, the vast overwhelming majority of gay people aren't Jeffrey Dahmer, right. And it's, we all get snarky sometimes and make jokes about how clergy are more likely to rape someone in a toilet than trans people. But, usually we should be able to just be a little fucking more generous of spirit with each other.
It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be overnight for sure. And it hasn't been quick, and it still won't be.
Well, and it's weird that we live in a time where we're backsliding. And people are getting more tribal and more nasty with a lot of things. And, it's like we were getting real snarky in Canada about Trump. And then we had a big old convoy that fucked up our exports. And suddenly we had like shortages of baby shit because you couldn't get cargo across the border from the States. And we all wanted to buy, diapers and stuff. And it's wild, man. It's, the AfD got like 12% of the vote in the last German election. Literal Nazis in Germany. Got like 1 in 10 people voting for them. It's fucking crazy.
Kurt, I want to say this to you. I said it yesterday, and I meant it, and I will say it again. I'm stoked we're friends. I want to say this on the record now. Make sure that this part outlives us. I'm stoked we're friends. If I can be a resource to you in any way, if you ever feel like you just need somebody to talk to, you need a friend, please don't ever feel like you don't have friends. I'm here all the time. I'm a phone call away.
Right back at you, brother. Right back at you, 100%. And one of these days, I have to come down to Philly and see you defend that title.
Yeah, probably.
or you have to come up to Canada
and defend it in Canada.
Yeah, man. Okay,
all right.
If you haven't wrestled a Hart, you haven't lived.
No, well, I haven't lived then.
Actually, have you wrestled a Hart? There's a bunch of them floating around.
Nope, never. I mean, I've shared locker rooms with Teddy, but I've never wrestled him. I've other than that, nope, never wrestled a Hart. And I've shared locker rooms with Harry as well. But
I love Harry. Harry's a fucking big old good guy. And they have a new little cousin, actually, Matt, who's not so little, but Matt Hart, who's doing some really cool stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think Bruce always keeps hoping that one of his boys will take it more seriously because they're both pretty darn good at it, but they just, they got shoot jobs that they like as much or more.
That's the difficult thing. Like most people in the world, when they say they want to be a pro wrestler, they go, okay, yeah, but just have a backup plan. The people, they have to have a backup plan that is wrestling.
I'll catch flack for saying this, but I've seen at least one of Bret's kids when the cameras are off, get in the ring and bump. They're good.
You're going to catch some flack.
I'm going to catch some flack for saying that from
flack throwing going around.
Some heart flack, but if any of Bret's kids ever decide to get in the ring, they could go all the way.
You heard it here first, folks. Bret's here for the first time right here. This is the first.
Well, he's trained that Mojibari guy is his kind of star pupil, cool. Kid Chocolate. Well, that guy's, if you get a chance to work with him, he's a hell of a worker.
Did you know Trent Acid?
I did not know him. No, I feel like I know a lot of people that did know him. That really adored him though.
Yeah, he was a Philly legend, man. He was he definitely helped me a lot when I was first getting started, and I was happy to be compared to him a lot when I first started. When I first started, everyone was like, "Hey, you're a young Trent Acid." Everybody said that to me, and it went away. It went away eventually. But.
No wonder our mutual friend that introduced us. What's his work name now? Ash.
Ash. That's his work name.
Yeah. Okay. I won't see his shoot name then. He's not a guy that seems to like using his shoot name as much as most people.
Whatever he wants to do, man. I
never got along with my father, so for a lot of years, I told people that my last name was made up because it sounds slightly fake.
All right, sounds neat.
Yeah, are you really Corey Castle? I've never asked.
No. This is my work name, dude. I made up a stage name like Mr. T did.
There you go.
Did you ever see Key and Peele?
Oh yeah, of course.
When they did the they did the never make fun of another man's name. Your mama gave you that name, unless you made up that name for business purposes. But yeah, my real name is James. I'm not Corey Castle by name in real life, but I'm gonna never not.
What made you pick Corey? Were you just like a huge fan of the Goonies, or
or
the Lost Boys? I'll get two Corys.
Yeah. And no, it actually had nothing to do with that. It was I wanted my gimmick to be when I started. I wanted my gimmick to be that I was like Derek Zoolander. You remember that movie Zoolander?
Yeah.
Where he's like the idiot male model. And I wanted my initials to be CK, like Calvin Klein, so I could put CK on the side of my pants. And so Corey sounded best with Castle, and I was like, oh, there you go. And I got Castle from The Punisher, and I just switched it to a K.
Not a shoot. Not for my old fellow Edmontonian Nathan Fillion.
No, not from his show. But I was wrestling before that show was ever out.
Oh, there we go.
My wrestling days predated that show ever coming out.
I still think of him by his work name.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first character he ever played when I met him was Howie McChucksky. So he's still Howie McChucksky in my head. What was
that show? Was that?
Oh, that was like back in the days of like Edmonton Theater Improv.
Oh shoot! Okay.
Back when we were both at the U of A, and he was dating my friend Claire Francis. Oh yeah, beep.
Degrees of separation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's another one of those guys that's like a nerd that got to be like a super fancy, handsome guy, so he got to work in all the stuff that he actually liked to consume.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully, I'm super handsome enough that I can do all the things that I want to do too.
Yeah, but he's like a legit nerd guy that always had like a reading club and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Good dude. Good people.
So, is there any? I'm going to give you the opportunity. At this point, we're just going to hypothetically say that I've gifted you the show. You are the host of this show. This has been your pilot episode, your first show, Evolving with Kurt Spenrath, episode 1. first, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to ask me or say to me anything that you want to ask me or say to me, and then I'll ask you to do kind of like a Jerry Springer's final thought, the most important takeaways that are gonna help people evolve to a better version of themselves.
Help people evolve to a better version of themselves.
Right. Get what inspires people.
Like the right way to put toilet paper in the holder depends on whether or not you own a cat.
Right. Yeah.
So don't argue about it. Yeah.
So you're the host right now.
My question for Corey Castle. What do you have, or what would be your vocation if you weren't a wrestler? Would you be some other performing art? And if so, what?
Well, I think everything I've always wanted to be, I am. Like I always wanted to be a comedian, and I do that. So I thought that before I was ever a wrestler, that I was going to do comedy, and that was going to be my vocation, my craft. And I mean, I'm barely basically an open micer at this point, but I still consider myself a comedian, and I sometimes get paid for it. So I'm a comedian, sure. So I think, something I've always wanted to do was like motivational speaking. That's always something I've wanted to do, and I'm not closing it out as it's something I'll never do, because I feel like that's still a calling that I have.
I do motivational speaking when I drive. It's just like hollering, "Move your fucking ass" over and over again. I'm constantly trying to motivate people.
Motivational speaking is more like
Don't be so stupid. It's motivational speaking, right?
Did you hear my stupid joke that I just made?
No. Fuck, do it again. I said
it. More like motivational speaking.
Motivational speaking. Yes.
Motivational speaking. Break it down that way.
So a final thought. Do I need that now?
Yeah.
What is a thing
like a Jerry Springer's final thought?
It would help the world to know.
Put a little bow on everything.
Yeah. It's always hard to have a sincere sounding motivational thought, because other people have all had so many better motivational thoughts, Hey
man, stop this comparing stuff.
Yeah.
Don't say other people are better. Don't ever do that. Like
I don't know, man. Like
there is Kurt.
Jack Layton, right? Love is better than hate. Kindness is better than greed.
Kurt, you're the only you that there is. So please be as proud of it as you can be.
There we go.
Like no one else has the perspective that you have. So whatever anyone else does, that's what they did. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you. You have a voice and a perspective.
There we go. The real key to happiness is sending me a check for $19.99, payable to cash. No.
And then you'll get a picture of a key.
No. Radical. It's time for a new radical empathy and a degree of ego-cide. If you're ever feeling depressed, don't kill yourself, kill your ego, and devote some time to asking yourself how you may be of service to others and what you can do to improve the world. And, kindness of heart, kindness of action. It's time for that, and it's time to remember that everybody's just trying to do their best. They're trying just as hard as you are to do your best. There's very little actual malice in the world. It's who's the German priest, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, that always made the case that you should never mistake stupidity for malice. And even though, they eventually killed him, he always thought that Nazis were more foolish and pathetic and to be pitied rather than people that were full of
they're just idiots,
honest hatred.
They're just dummies.
Yeah,
it's a big old...
and even that implies conscious malevolent ignorance, which I know it often feels like that happens, but usually people just aren't being careful. I'm sure that there are at least 10 things that I've said in this conversation that are upsetting to someone somewhere.
But I'd say there was probably more than 10 things that were valuable to somebody.
Yeah, and for those 10 things, I'm not saying that because I mean you malice or want to be mean to you or want to hurt you. Maybe I want to change you a little. I'm not gonna lie.
Rattle the cage a bit.
But I don't hate you. I love all of you.
Do you do any impressions? Or maybe impressions of Muppets?
Do I do impressions of Muppets?
Yeah.
Well, you see, no, because the Muppeteers are very, very highly trained, very highly skilled people. And anyone would be incredibly privileged to work with an actual Henson-trained Muppeteer or to pitch a project with Henson-trained Muppeteers. So no, I can't do any Muppets.
And the reason I ask is
Brian Henson, because I know you watch this. You're cool, man. I like you. You're very authentically. Brian Henson is a fucking dude. Sorry, I swore and referenced Muppets in one sentence. Brian, I apologize.
Did you see Mike Birbiglia's joke about that? Like, he had a whole story on one of his specials where he was talking about like the mic stand fell over like the second he walked out and he was like nervous and he was like, fuck. And he's like, they hired him to play with the Muppets and he had to follow Fozzie. And he's like, Fozzie's hilarious. Like he's killing. And I have to then follow that. And I get up there, I'm nervous and I knock the mic stand over and I'm like, fuck. And he's like, I run back to the back. Check out Mike Birbiglia's stand-up specials on Netflix.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So the reason I was asking you,
do I do any impressions?
Yeah,
hundreds, but not of anyone you'd ever have heard of.
Okay, so whatever
challenge me to one. I don't know.
Okay, whatever you think your best impression is. I normally have the way we close out is I always say, whatever your best impression is, close out the show. The way we close out is me always saying, be fun, have safe, keep evolving. In your best impression.
I'm just burning airtime here. Best impression. At least I'm not a snitch. Hoorah! No, that's not a good impression. That's a terrible impression.
Was that Al Pacino?
Yeah, I just thought I'd try it. I've never actually tried an Al Pacino impression before.
Well, you could have possibly you're like, this one's going to be my best one I've got. Yeah, I've never tried before, but it's going to be the best one ever. I appreciate that confidence.
I'm great at doing impressions of people that it's easy to do impressions of. Like any voice that like any of the Simpsons voice actors do. Like what's his name in the Birdcage? He's so easy to do. He's a little bit of Lucy, a little bit of Daisy. You can totally sound like the Birdcage guy because the Simpsons guy has already done that voice for you once and you've heard it.
Right.
Like so even
Agador.
Agador. Even if you do the impression badly,
right.
they've all got enough of a hook that my impression is Mittens. Like you'll know which one they're doing. That was Trump's great doom. Is he's so impersonable. Jesus Christ, my girlfriend can't watch this now. Impersonable.
I used to do a joke on stage where I would talk about how weird is it that impression, like you saying the word impression, if you say, oh, I'm going to do an impression of somebody, then you do an impression of somebody. Or if you say, I'm going to do an impersonation of somebody, and then you do an impersonation of somebody, and somebody knows what you're doing. But like in Spanish, they don't have a word for toes, but we have double words for a bunch of shit that doesn't matter. It's like in Spanish, they say like feet fingies. They're like feet fingies.
That's amazing. Is that true, or are you working me?
Yeah, no, that's the shoot. Yeah, they don't have a word for toes in Spanish.
Huh. That's wild. Yep. It's a Romance language. You'd think it would.
Yeah, you'd think. Get on it.
Yeah,
let's create a Spanish word for toes.
I'll fly to Chile tomorrow. Get the best minds on it. You dirty rat! You killed my brother. No.
Was that Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1?
Yes, it was. No, the real Michelangelo. Hey, you want me to paint the what? You don't like my last supper? Too many kangaroos? Fine, fuck you. Ask Da Vinci to do it. Michelangelo.
I think there should be some more cowabungas and radicals in that impression, like Michelangelo.
There should be more radicals everywhere.
Radicals and cowabungas.
Yeah.
As far as the eyes can see.
Who voiced the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I wonder. I do not know that.
I know that Corey Feldman was Donatello.
Oh.
But I don't know who any of the other voice actors were.
The last surviving Corey Feldman. Yeah. And also, I believe Corey Feldman
listens to the show. He listens to the show.
I believe he's
just to support other Corys.
He's the tallest Goonie as an adult. At 5'5". All the Goonies are very small people. Still. They could do a sequel and just cast normal sized people next to them and pretend it's only 2 years later. Anyway, dude, it's been a joy. It's a joy as always.
Absolutely. Let's do this again, and let's not wait 4 or 5 years for next month.
Yes. It's always fun to just riff, and next time we can actually solve some of the problems of the world.
Maybe
there's my philosophy for you. Read more of this guy, America.
When you come here next, come to my house and come hang out. Let's do another one of these in person,
dude. If when I come to Philly, we're hanging a ton.
Yeah,
you'll have to take me out for a cheesesteak though.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure I've ever had one.
Well, they're overrated. I feel like anytime anyone says like, "Oh, what's the best cheesesteak place?" This is advice from a Philly guy to a Canadian fella. Anytime anyone ever asks you what's the best cheesesteaks, they say like Patrigino's. It's normally the corner store. Like if you just call the pizza place down the street from your house and have them bring it to your house, that's probably better than what you're going to get at Patrigino's. And you're not going to spend as much gas money getting back and forth.
Is there a cheesesteak that's as good as a smoked meat sandwich from Schwartz's?
I've never had a smoked meat sandwich from Schwartz's.
Well, there you go, man. You have to come to Canada.
Yeah, we'll go fly to the other one carrying one of each sandwich and get there and have the other one not be there to eat the sandwich.
So really, I could just take the train up to Montreal, go to Schwartz's, and send you a postcard.
There you go.
Done.
Thanks for doing this, Kurt. Thanks so much for doing this, Kurt. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for your time and your effort. That means so much to me. Anybody who's listening, if this is your first time checking out the show, please hit subscribe so you get new episodes every single time. Every single time.
Guy next week is way more interesting than me. Funny. Fucking hilarious. Sincere.
There you go. Comparing yourselves to fictional characters again. It's a fictional character because he doesn't exist.
Well, you said like it's necessarily bad. I definitely have a bigger dick than Winnie the Pooh.
Celebrate.
Stream of consciousness is very stagnant right now for this one. I'm gonna go have dinner.
Silly old bear. Like I said, if you ever also anybody listening to this, if you're ever feeling like you're alone and you don't have friends, reach out to me. My DMs are always wide open. I'm here to listen. Don't ever feel like I'm somebody you can't talk to and I'm not going to write you back. I probably won't respond to like things that just say, hey, because then I feel like it's probably just a bot or something, but just let me know who you are. Let me know you're genuine. And that's how I get some of my best friends are people who listen to the show and reach out to me and tell me how they feel about it. Have a comment, want to leave a comment
that says genuine things.
Just leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, and just gonna keep on promoting you being kind and being kinder to yourself. Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.